Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Anyela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are the Breakfast Club. We got some special guests in the building today. A lot of people ask so many questions about real estate, and we do these seminars so much. So I know a lot of times people can't make it to the seminars or there's other things to do. So I wanted to have a conversation on air where we break down a lot of the stuff that Yee and I and also Cesar, who'll be joining us in a second, actually do. So we have a couple of people here. I'll start with the credit guy. Jose, you want to just tell him your name and your business?
Yes. How you doing, everybody? Jose Rodriguez, the credit dude. I own Clean Slate Credit Solutions in New Jersey.
Okay. Then we have the mortgage guy, the money guy.
Yes, sir.
Matt,
Yes, sir. Good
you wanna
morning.
give me your information?
Matt Garland. Let me be compliant. NMLS number 58700, better known as MG, the mortgage guy.
Okay. And we also have Sabine here. Now, Sabine is an attorney. Now, you want to tell him your information as well?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sabine Franco. I am an attorney in the state of New York and New Jersey, and my company is called Franco Law Firm.
Okay, so the way we do our seminars and the way we talk about real estate
Hold on,
is...
where's Cesar?
Cesar be joining us. He's,
How you just slide over like Caesar's sitting? There's an empty chair right here.
he's on his way up. He had to work out before he got here. He's on his new workout plan.
Let's go, Cesar.
So we had to make sure
Caesar's been slimming down.
he'll be joining us in a second. So when we talk about real estate, we always talk first with credit. And the first thing you should know is your credit. And Yee, when we first started working here, I know my credit was shot.
Right.
How was your credit?
My credit was fine.
My credit, Charlamagne's credit was shot. So
Why was your credit so bad? I'm just curious.
You know what it was? I think it was maybe school loans. It was, you know what it was? It was doctor bills and hospital bills. I just didn't get them. I got them late. It was always a lot of money, and I didn't want to pay them. So
You can't just do that.
I figured that out.
Yeah, my credit was cool because I had paid off my student loans and I did direct payments, so that was always
Smart.
on time.
Yeah.
And I had my car that I was doing my payments on, and just things like that. And I always was sure to, even if I didn't have the money to pay something off in full, I always made payments and talk to people. You can't not communicate and just not pay something.
Correct.
Right.
And that's what I did. So the first thing I want to talk about is credit with Jose. Now, let's talk about credit a little bit. What's a good credit score, and how do you keep your credit score high?
Yep. So what's crazy is when they say what's a good credit score, it actually depends on what you're buying. Because, if you want to buy a house, you can get one as low as 580, which you don't want to have that score. But I usually say anything over 700, you're good. You're going to get in a position where you can pretty much get approved at the lowest interest rate, but there won't really be any problems with you where they're like, oh, you have a 680, but guess what? We also need a cosigner. Oh, you have a 620, we need $5,000 extra down. So usually you have a 700, I say you're good. You know what I mean? And one of the ways to keep the high credit score is keep your balances low. That's probably the biggest thing. And like Angela said, is just make sure you pay your stuff on time. A lot of people forget, a $25 bill. Like I get a lot of clients like, I forgot to pay this $25 Capital One credit card. And that's probably the biggest thing. Well, I have clients that have like a $5,000 payment, but the people that have the $25 payment, they forget. So just put it on auto pay and then just always pay more than what you can. Because the majority of the clients that I have, their credit scores are low because of their debt, which means that the amount of balances they have on their credit cards and limit to in ratio to their credit limits.
So
that's probably the biggest thing.
Your limit is $10,000, but it's up to $9,000, that's terrible.
That's bad. Yeah. And I always advocate for 10%. A lot of people say 30% credit limit ratio. I always say 10% and under because you're going to get put in the best position possible to have the highest credit score.
So how do you get your credit score up? Let's say, somebody's out there listening right now and they have a 550 or they have a 600. What's the fastest and quickest way to get their credit score up?
All right. So the fastest thing is, one, you got to look at it. That's the biggest thing. You got to look at your credit score. A lot of people use Credit Karma. I wouldn't advocate for that. I would probably try to get a mortgage report or try a credit report that has all three because all three reports are something different, which is crazy. I don't know why there's three credit bureaus. But look at your credit report, see if there's anything inaccurate, but then also pay everything down. I mean, a lot of people don't have credit. That's why they have a low credit score. Have at least 5 accounts, I would say. Have at least 5 accounts, whether it's a mortgage, an auto loan, credit cards. Keep your balances down. And that's pretty much it. And if you have those collections like Envy had, pay them before they go. Because what's crazy is
you don't want your stuff to go to collections ever.
Nah, because the thing is, if you have a medical bill, pay $25 a month, and it prevents it from going on your credit report.
Now, let me ask you this. What about if, I forgot what I was about to say. about having too much credit, right? Like, say you have too many credit cards open or too many lines and too many accounts.
Yep.
Does that negatively affect you?
It depends. It's crazy because a lot of the answers and questions depends if you're going for a mortgage. The lender might tell you to close it. If you're going for a car, they don't care. But if you do have like 20 credit cards, as long as those balances are low, the lender's normally not going to care as long as they're not maxed out. Now, when you're maxed out on those credit cards, then yeah, they're going to care.
Now, what about trade lines? I see a lot of people say, you get a trade line and that gets your credit up high.
Right.
Are trade lines legal?
No. So here's why.
I never had one.
Good question.
Ever had one.
Good question.
So here's why. Call your credit card company up and say, hey, I'm going to sell my account to somebody else for $1,000. Can I do that? Is that in the agreement? And more than likely, they're not going to say yes, right? There's nowhere that it's going to be legal, and they're actually cracking down. Like the Federal Trade Commission actually just sued somebody for doing that exact same thing. It was like $6.1 million lawsuit. So it's not legal. So there's other ways of building credit. Maybe if you want to add your daughter or your son, yeah, that's fine. Add an authorized user, but don't buy it because it's not legal to add somebody to a credit card that you have no relationship with.
Right. So the first step is Cesar just walked in. Cesar, I told him you was working out this morning, so you got a little late. So that's the first step is fixing your credit and making sure your credit is right.
Yep.
Then once you get that credit right, and this is all when you're trying to buy a home for yourself or an investment property. This is what I'm talking about. This is what we talk about, but in depth in our seminar. Then we come to financing.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now I got my credit score up to, let's say, a 620.
A
Okay.
620.
It's
And last
620.
thing, can you get your credit report free every year for everybody listening?
Yeah, annualcreditreport.com.
Annualcreditreport.com. So now I got my credit score at 620. So now I want to buy this house.
Okay.
I don't have much money to put down, right? The house is, let's say, $100,000.
Okay.
How do I get this house to put in the least amount of money as possible?
Listen, the perfect program for someone in that situation is an FHA loan, right? FHA allows you a minimum credit score of a 580 and putting down 3.5% as a down payment. So in that example, Envy, 100K will cost you $3,500 as your down
You're
payment.
lying. There's no way I could buy a house.
No, I'm
and
dead
have
serious.
an effed up credit score is 580. Let's say a house would just use 100,000 because it's around that, and only have to put down $3,500.
Correct.
That's bullshit.
3.5%, but don't forget your closing costs, right? So your closing costs are generally going to be somewhere around 5% of the sales price. So in this case, you're going to come out of pocket around $8,500.
To buy a $100,000 house, that's my
Can you
house.
roll that into your mortgage payments?
Yes, you can. Great question. You can roll it in only if the seller agrees to give you what's called a seller's concession. And with FHA, they allow the seller to pay at least up to 6% of the sales price. So in that case, if the closing costs are 5%, you can't exceed the 5%, but you have that 6% buffer just in case it's a little bit more expensive, and you can finance, the borrower will finance the closing costs and be part of their monthly payment.
Now, what about PMI? If you do a loan and you only put down 3.5%, then you have to pay mortgage insurance?
Yes, you have to pay PMI on FHA loan, even if you put down 20%, which people don't realize. So even if you go FHA, you put down 3.5, 5, 10, whatever it is you're going to have PMI for. If it's less than 10%, the PMI is for the life of the loan. If you put down 10% or more, it goes away year 11 of the loan. So that's why when most people, listen, FHA loan is a great program for that first-time home buyer, for them to get their foot in the door. And if the market is right, if the appreciation is going up on the property, then you want to refinance out of that FHA and go into a conventional loan, because once you have that 20% equity with a conventional mortgage, the PMI can go away. But what I tell people all the time is PMI is not the devil. At the end of the day, it gives you the opportunity to buy a home with putting less than 20% down.
I thought it was, I'm not going to lie, when I didn't know what PMI was at all when I bought my first house. And when they told me, because I had no idea, I was like, oh, I can put down this amount of money. But the PMI was so high that I was like, I have to figure out a way to get up enough that I don't have to pay that. And that was just me personally, what I had to do at that time, because I think the PMI was almost $1,000 a month.
Ooh, that's a big
But it's New
big
York,
mortgage.
and you know New York is expensive.
But that wasn't $100,000.
That
house.
definitely wasn't $100,000.
That sounds like a $1 million
That
home.
sounds like
Right.
a Brooklyn townhouse.
Yeah, it's a Brooklyn.
That's exactly that's $1 million. Now,
Yeah, and to me that was a lot of extra money at
Yeah.
that time. So I had to figure out, and I borrowed money from my dad and paid him back, so just to get to the point where I had enough to put it down to 9. But that was just how I felt. Like, I don't know if I can want to be paying an extra $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, that $1,000, that's $12,000 a year. So
let's say it's $100,000. Around how much would PMI be?
I mean, if you're talking, it'll probably be around $85 to $100.
nothing.
And I'm giving you an estimate. Don't quote, nobody quote me on this, right?
Okay.
But it's going to be probably less than $100. So in that case, it's not really the devil. But in your situation, $1,000 is $1,000. You can find something else to do with that money. But again, it allowed you to get that Brooklyn townhouse, do what you had to do, and then you can always refinance out of it and drop it.
Now, the reason I send everybody to Matt when it comes to financing is because Matt doesn't just do one family homes, right? So if your first house that you want to buy, kind of like what Yee did, let's say it's a 3-family house, right?
Okay.
I can still get a 3.5% loan. Is that correct?
Absolutely. FHA gives you the ability to put down 3.5%, whether you're buying a 1-family, 2-family, 3-family, or 4-family. You can also buy mixed-use property. For those who don't know what a mixed-use property is when you have a commercial space and apartments on top of it. So that's basically a commercial loan. But FHA will finance that as long as it's not more than 4 total units, and the residential side is bigger than the commercial.
So let's say I find, I'm going to use $100,000 is
Okay.
easy math. So let's say I find a 3-family home for $100,000.
Okay.
I have to live in 1 floor, but I can rent out the other 2 floors and get a 3.5% loan.
Absolutely.
So the other 2 floors pretty much pay for my mortgage, and I'm living rent free.
Absolutely. I mean, we have plenty of case studies from our seminars where people are buying homes and essentially living for free. I just closed someone about 2 weeks ago. She came to the Queen seminar, and she bought a property in Jersey, a 3-family. I mean, the rental income on a 3-family was $4,600, somewhere around there. And she's living in the basement and converted the basement into a 2-bedroom apartment. So her mortgage payment is only $2,800.
Wow. So she's profiting $2,000 a month.
She's profiting,
right,
living for free, and then she's just going to repeat the cycle. And the home came in $35,000 above what she paid for it when we got it appraised. So that's a home run deal for a first time home.
And that's what I like to tell people. People say, well, you need a lot of money. You need to do this. You need to do that. I don't know who's telling you these things, but these are actual things, and these people are really doing it.
Absolutely.
Now, I just want to say one thing. Our seminar that we do is really to help people. Now, Jose, if somebody calls and wants to talk to you about their credit, how much do you charge them?
$0.
Matt, when somebody calls and wants to get pre-approved and try to get a loan and have questions, how much do you charge them?
$0.
Okay. So now we get the loan, right? You got a loan. Now we have Sabine, who is an attorney.
Yes.
Now, Sabine, why do I need you as an attorney? Why do I need a real estate attorney?
Well, you need a real estate attorney because you need somebody who's in the deal, who has your back in the deal. You have your realtor in the deal. They're trying to find you the best home. They're trying to close the deal, and they're trying to get you your keys. But your attorney wants to make sure the details are in place so you don't end up paying more than you have to. You don't end up stuck with a property that has liens on it, judgments on it, has certificate of occupancy issues. That's like what's filed with the county. You want to make sure all that is clear. There's nothing on there that's going to affect you. So when you take ownership, you're good to go. And then we also govern the contract. So we make sure that the contract has all the details that's going to protect you. If you're not covered in the contract, when issues come up, then that's when you're going to be vulnerable. So that's what we basically play a role in.
Now, with owning a home or owning a property, should I put it in my name or should I put it in a corporation name? Should it be an S corp? Should it be a C corp, a D corp, an E corp, an F corp?
What should it be? Because
there's so many different questions with that. And so, what should I do if I want to buy an investment property or a home for myself?
Okay, so I get this question all the time, and it really is going to depend, first of all, on what type of loan you're going to get. Because if you're going to get an FHA loan or a VA loan like Matt's talking about, you're not going to be able to close in an LLC.
Correct.
So you may want to think about buying that property in your name, holding it for at least a year so you don't violate any laws.
Say it aloud.
Right? For the people in the back. So don't violate any laws. Hold it for a year, and then you could transfer it into an LLC. But if you're buying an investment property, like you're putting 25% down, you're getting a conventional loan you're doing 25% down, or you're just going hard money or something else, you should buy it in an LLC. One, with hard money, you have to. But if you're buying cash, you should buy it within an LLC so that you could protect yourself from liability. If somebody sues your building, maybe they get some of your building or they get only what's in your LLC. But they're not going to get your home. They're not going to, take your kids out of school. They're not going to go after your bank account. And that's what you're really looking for. And people get concerned. They're like, oh, I got to have an LLC for every single property. Well, you're an investor. This is part of the business. That's just a cost of doing business. And yes, you just have to learn how to manage your business properly, keep things in order, make sure you're not what they call making yourself vulnerable to pierce the corporate veil. And what that means is if you're not running the business properly, then if you get sued, they could actually come after you. So it's not just blanket, you have an LLC, do whatever you want. I got limited liability. No, you actually have to run it properly, and you got to go through the proper channels. And that's also where an attorney could come in to help guide you through that process.
Right. And I just want to put out there, I know a lot of you can't see the team that's here, but they look like me and you. Like they look like me and you. They're people that do their job. They've been doing it for a long time, and they're successful, and they look like me and you. And now we have Cesar. What up, Cesar?
What's going on, bro?
Caesar.
Now, another thing that people always say is, first of all, you need a lot. You need money. I need money. But I see people walking around with Jordans and expensive bags, and
people want to know if you and Caesar are realtors. Are you guys selling homes?
Cesar and I are not realtors, and we're not selling homes.
Because they want to buy a house from you.
No, you can't buy a house from me. We don't sell homes yet. But I would say this. A lot of people say, "Well, I have a criminal record. Can I do it with a criminal record?" Now, Cesar, you have a criminal record.
Yes, I do.
All right.
Move over.
Start with that.
You have a criminal record, but your criminal record actually got you into this business.
Yes.
So explain that a little bit.
And should Michael Blackson be concerned? Because that's how you said when you catch him.
So pretty much I have a high school diploma. I don't come from family money. I'm more street educated than anything else. When all my friends went to college and stuff like that, I chose the streets. So I ended up, everybody's telling me, oh, you got to change your life. You can't do this. You're going to end up in jail. So I ended up in jail. And the funny thing is that when I was in jail, I actually met a guy that was a real estate developer already. And he was an investor, pretty high-end, Hudson County, Hoboken area. And he actually kind of became my mentor. He inspired me to get into real estate once I came home. And he sparked something in me. I came out, and I've been running ever since, about 13, 14 years now.
Now you just didn't start. You started doing mortgages at first. You started giving people mortgages when the market was
So
great.
you were a mortgage broker?
So I became a mortgage broker.
So he got out of jail and became a mortgage broker.
That was the wild cowboy days.
Yeah, it was the cowboy days. It was pretty funny. I actually became a mortgage broker right from the halfway house because there was a guy there. That was out the halfway house that was doing
You always had
mortgages.
your hustle in you.
Yeah. So I started doing mortgages. I was doing great. Just came home. Just got married before I went in. Have a little girl. I missed the first 6 months of her life for the mistakes that I made. And started doing mortgages, was doing great. The market went down. So now I'm like, oh, man, what am I going to do? I went from making $20,000 a month to not making anything. We got into the restaurant business. And I was there for like a year and a half.
That's a tougher business, I feel like.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah, the restaurant business, they say like barely any of those succeed.
It was horrible. I was there for like a year and a half. The only thing I really learned was how to watch Spanish novelas in the back with the ladies that were cooking and stuff. That's all I really got from that whole experience.
And what education do you need to be a mortgage broker? Like, are there any certificates or anything? Or is it something that you can teach yourself how to do?
Well, back then it was a little different. Things were crazy, so you didn't really need anything. Now I know you need your banking license, and I know
you got to get licensed now.
Okay.
You have to get like
So you didn't used to have to, but now you do.
Nah.
Yeah.
When the market crashed, that's when they came in and they regulated everything, and we had to now get licensed and continuing education every year. It's expensive.
So now you had the restaurant business, and the restaurant business failed.
horribly. So I saw an opportunity in real estate. I did one deal. I made $70,000, and I closed that restaurant the next day. Left everything in the fridge, money in the register, ran out of there.
70,000, I'm out.
And now I started with the smaller properties, just like everybody else that's starting now. 2, 3, 4 families. I didn't have any money, so we sold our car, pawned my wife's ring, jewelry, what we had to do to make that first deal happen. My mom actually let me borrow like $500 for my first deal. Still frozen in my face to this day, even though I bought our house. And it was 13 years ago. And I actually take care of them now financially. I've been blessed. And, I started with 2, 3, 4 families. Now we're building 50, 80, 100 unit buildings.
Right.
Nice.
So now when it comes to loans, and we're talking to the real estate team, when it comes to loans, now, the first thing I realized and what I used to do was I used to use my own money. When I met Cesar, I realized Cesar will not use his own money. He's probably one of the cheapest people I know. Now, you don't use your own money for anything. Very, very rare.
You never
Very
pay
rare.
for dinner for Envy or nothing.
No. When it comes to that, it's fine. But when it comes
You gotta
to
get a loan.
investing, you don't use your own money.
No. The key to everything, especially in real estate, is leverage, right? You want to use, for example, let's say you have $500,000, right? You don't want to go and just buy one property. You want to take that $500,000 and buy 5 properties, right? Because if you buy one property and it goes up, let's say it appreciates by 10% that year, you made $10,000, right? But now if you take those 5 properties and you made $10,000 on each property, you made an extra $50,000. So if one property brings in $5,000, now 5 properties bring in $25,000. So the key is leveraging your money. The first 2 years, since I was self-educated in real estate,
every time I bought one property till I fixed that property and sold it, I wouldn't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
And then year 2 is when I learned about leverage, when I learned about hard money loans, private financing, and that's when I went from doing 2 deals a year or 1 deal a year to doing 20 a year.
So what is a hard money lender? What is hard money loans?
It's pretty much you usually go to a hard money lender when it's the property is a complete rehab.
And that's not Matt. Matt is a conventional lender. He's not gonna give hard money lender.
No, I'm not doing hard money. I'm doing FHA, VA, and conventional loans.
Now, hard money lender is when now explain that a little bit for people that don't know.
So that's pretty much private financing.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens with a hard money loan is when you want to buy a complete rehab property, there's not a lot of conventional programs for that besides the FHA 203K program. Right. So you have to go hard money. So for example, on a hard money loan, say you're buying a property for $100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll give you 90% of the purchase price. So you have to put 10% down, and then they'll give you 100% of the rehab.
Right.
Or construction costs, whatever it is. So if it's $60,000, they'll give you 100% of that. And the way that those loans are set up, they're set up in drawers. So as you do, for example, you do the demo, you do the rough plumbing, you do the rough electric, they cut you a check.
Right.
And so on and so forth.
So see, with hard money, what does your credit score need to be?
Well, hard money is a little bit different because it's not a conventional financing. They it's based more on the deal.
Right.
So with some lenders, even though your credit score might be 580 or 620 or under 620, they might do the deal as long as there's enough equity there. Because it's mostly based on the deal. It's not like conventional financing when they got certain guidelines and they look at everything.
Right.
Private financing is totally different.
So it doesn't matter what your credit score is or how much money you got. It matters how good the deal is.
Yeah, when I first started, my credit score was like a 590, and I still found a hard money lender that actually worked on me, and I still work with her to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a whole bunch of issues, liens. I didn't have no tax returns, and they still did the deal.
Now, also with hard money lender, people say, well, why use a hard money lender? So if you go to one of these websites, right, and you book a crib or you try to buy a house, right, and every house that you buy on these websites are different. It might say have to close in 7 days or have to close in 10 days. Matt, you can't close in 10 days.
Not at all.
Not at all. It takes you 30 days at least.
30 days.
30 days. A hard money lender can close in 5 days. We can get that money from a hard money lender in 5 days as long as the deal is good. So that's the reason why we use hard money lenders a lot of times. We don't have to worry about time. We don't have to worry about credit. We don't have to worry about putting up some money some of the times. And I ain't gonna front. I use Cesar a lot because Cesar has so many deals. When he deals with a hard money lender, I don't have to put nothing down because I'm going through Cesar's channel. If it's my channel, it's 90%. I got to put down 10%. So if I buy something that's $1 million, I got to put down 100,000. But if I go through Cesar's channel, I ain't got to put ish down. So that's why my office is next to Cesar's office. So I can call and use it.
You know, just to bring this up, Envy, real quick, a lot of people don't
I thought I owed him some money or something.
A lot of people gotta understand too. When you, for example, just to break it down, when you see an auction property, right, and it says cash only, if you go to Hubzu or auction.com, hard money is the same as cash. So even though you're using a hard money loan, it's considered cash. So you could still get a loan on that property with a hard money lender.
Right. So out there, hard money lender, what it is people always say, well, where do you guys get your deals? You know people, this, that, and the other. Where we get our deals is where anybody can get our deals. We go to the websites, whether it's hubzu.com, auction.com, and that's where we get our deals. There is no benefit to know nobody. We have to bid on properties just like anybody else. The only thing with the properties there are a lot less than what the value is, what the retail value is. So
do they look at the property before they decide as a private entity loaning you money for hard money? Do they look at it and assess it and say, this looks like a good investment? Or do they say, okay, here's the money, good luck, because if you don't, what happens if you don't make your money back?
Well, everybody is different. Every single private lender is different. Some of them will ask for an appraisal. Some of them won't. It's kind of, it's one of those things where it's built more on relationship. Mm-hmm. So as you go along and you've done a couple of deals, you can actually just call them, hey, I found a property. They'll look at, okay, you already paid us back on a couple of $1 million already. We don't have to go do an appraisal. Some of them do, some of them don't. It all depends on the deal. But of course, the trick to it, they're not going to lend to you unless there's equity in the property, right? Mm-hmm. So if the property is worth $400,000 and you want to borrow $380, they're not going to do that deal. Mm-hmm. But if the property is worth $400,000 and you want to borrow $280, of course they're going to do it because at the end of the day, they also have to protect their money. Mm-hmm. So they want to make sure any deal they do, that God forbid you don't pay, they could foreclose on you and they could turn a profit.
Okay.
Yeah. And like when we go to the websites, like if Cesar does this for a living, he does this all day long. Like he's on auction.com like it's a porn site. Like All day he is on that site, but he looks for deals, and he's at a point right now where he does it. He knows the areas and he studies the areas, so he doesn't necessarily even have to go into the properties. I'm not like that. I have to go into every property. I have to touch it to make sure a house really exists. Like I tell you the time, cops came about to arrest me because I like to go. I like to touch the walls and make sure there's a floor there, and that's what he's able to do. Now, how many properties do you own now?
Right now, I'm at about 900 rental units across the country. So, but about 80% of my portfolio is in Paterson, New Jersey. Well, pretty much Passaic County, because I got stuff in Clifton and Passaic too.
Now, how long did it take you to buy the 900 units? Because I bought 100 in a year.
Yep.
100 units in a year, yeah. And so how long did it take you to get 900 units?
Pretty much the level that I'm at right now, it took me about 13 years to get to it. Because eventually, there's only so many 2, 3, and 4 families that you could buy. Eventually, you got to switch it up to commercial properties, developing, because there's so many different avenues you could take with real estate. It just depends how hungry you are. How much you want to do.
How important is it to be very hands-on? Because let's say you're like us, right? Or me. I have a full-time job, and a lot of things that I'm doing.
I got a full-time job too.
I said us, but then I was gonna switch it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, you're a woman.
I work with you.
Okay.
But I don't know.
But I'm just saying. So let's just say that is this something that you can do that and it not be like a top priority that kind of just makes you money without you being as involved? Because I look at it like I'm very hands-on with things, and I know we have this job, and then we have a lot of other things that we do outside of here. I have a pressed juice business. I have my juice bar. I work with the Barclays and like a million different things going on. But I look at this as something that I have to be like very involved in. And that's the thing that I feel like I do things here and there. I'm actually closing on a property today. But I do.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's why I was like, okay, look at the time. But it is something that the reason I'm cautious about it is that I don't want to extend myself too much.
Yep. It all depends, what kind of investor you are, because there's a lot of people that might be, okay, I just want to make an extra $5,000 a month. So I'm happy with having 2 multifamilies. Because it's pretty much a system. Once you have, especially on the rental side, you have a property manager. He's going to take care of all the headaches for you. So you're not going to get those phone calls at 3 a.m. The heat's not working, the toilet is running, right? So it all depends how hands-on you want to be. But once you fix a property and it's cash flowing, as long as of course you're not a slumlord and you keep up with it, that cash comes forever. Real estate's pretty much forever. It just keeps on generating every month. On the 5th, you get your money in. But again, just like I tell everybody, you need to build a system.
Right.
But
have you ever had any squatting issues?
Oh yeah,
all the time.
Especially when you're fixing a property. We bump into I've tripped over people. One time there was a guy in the property. The whole property was boarded up. I get to the 2nd floor. He's looking at me, and he's like, "What's up, Poppy?" And I'm like, "What's up?" And then I'm like, "How you got in here?" He tells me, "Magic." Okay, that's a good answer. We're gonna start working here next week. Can you please leave by then? And he's like, "Yeah, cool."
Magic. What about people not paying their rent?
Well, that always happens. Luckily, in Passaic County, in Jersey, the area that we mostly invest in is pretty good because you could evict somebody in 30 to 45 days. Not like New York, where I think it takes a year. I think even now 2 years is pretty crazy over there.
Yeah, they just changed the laws now.
So that's pretty good about Passaic County. Every area is different.
Yeah,
but
so you
got
got
to
check that to make sure you know.
Definitely got to check that.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's pretty much part of the business. But at one point, once you have so many units, right, it doesn't even bother you.
Right.
It's just part of it. But we're pretty aggressive as far as our rents. We pretty much collect about 99% of our rents every month.
They're like the mafia.
Yeah. we're old school. We knock on doors.
Now let me ask you a question. One, when Donnell Rawlings came up here, comedian Michael Blackson came up here, they made jokes on you. Did that bother you at all? Does that bother you?
Not really, man. It is what it is. I'm happy with who I am. Of course, it's always good to get healthy, right?
Right.
Which I am. But it doesn't bother me, man. It is what it is. As long, like I said, I was never thinking about public speaking or anything like that. And I met Envy. He inspired me, and he said I had a great story, and I can inspire other people. So it's pretty much about telling my story and inspiring people that look like us to do better and be successful in real estate. Because it's something that if you stick with it, you could definitely be successful at it. You don't need a lot of money to start. Most people get scared of it. And it's something that is not taught in our communities. So.
Does it bother you when Envy opens everything like it's a drop?
You know, a lot of people tell me, you don't really, you don't talk a lot. I'm like, I'm next to DJ Envy, bro. I can't talk. Once that guy talks, I can't even
So
say
you feel like you should switch up the intro a little so it feels like something different.
It's just like Power. You can't switch up the intro. When you want to switch up the intro, it's all bad.
But it's a whole different show.
So?
And do you think that everything should be a home run? Because Envy,
No, but see, then my wife looks at me. You hate baseball. Why do you say home run for?
it's a
And that's why I
touchdown.
switch it up.
touchdown, but, but that's what it is. But we started the seminars because there were so many people that called that reached out and said they've been paying like $2,000-$3,000 for seminars, $5,000 seminars, and then when they get to the
Sheesh.
seminar,
Yeah.
they
That's a
don't
down
learn
payment.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. They don't
exactly.
learn anything, and then to talk to people, they got to pay more money, and we tried to stop that. That's why I'm so big on making sure that the people that we use, when people call them, they're not charging for that. You know, we really want to help the community, and that's why we do so much. So that's the reason why I want him to talk. I'm like, yo, I got to get you on stage because we can help a lot of people,
Right.
and we've helped so many people, not just regular people, but celebrities, athletes, executives. And when we do and we get them money, we got a bunch of people, millions of dollars. How much did you charge them, Cesar?
Nothing.
Right, and that's
Something's not adding up then. But you know what I do think is great, because even for myself, like when I bought my first house, I was winging it. Like I didn't really know. It worked out though, fortunately for me.
Yeah.
Like by the grace of God, everything worked out. But things could have been a lot smoother and easier, especially buying the properties we bought in Detroit. That was definitely winging it.
definitely
At the time,
winging it.
yeah.
And Yee definitely wung the shit. Like, let me tell y'all what Yee did, right? I bought a property because Yee was like, yo, Envy is a great deal, which it was.
It was,
Beautiful
and you
deal
made
out in
money
Detroit.
at the
I
end
did
of
make
it all.
money at the end of it
Let's
all.
move backwards. You did make a lot
I
of money.
did make a lot of money, right? But Yee was like, yo, I got some guys that can fix up the property. So I said, good, I'm going to hire them too. Yee didn't tell me that she fired them because they did a bad job.
He didn't ask me because Envy went and hired them and didn't tell me. And was doing that. If he would have asked me, I'd have been like, but he already was in motion. And that's why you have to communicate.
They put bathroom tile on the master bedroom wall. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I wound up still
He should
making
have been
money.
like Angela, because he thought he was taking my workers to go do his stuff.
Karma.
Without telling you.
But anyway, that was Yee winging it. And I was
But
really
now
about it.
everything, but I think it is a process sometimes to trial and error, because I think finding
Yeah.
good contractors is hard too.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the biggest struggles that people have when they're trying to buy a fixer-upper, because it always costs more money than you think and takes way longer than you think. And sometimes you can't even find a contractor.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's true.
absolutely.
Well, I just want to say thank you guys for coming up today. I know we do usually a 5-6 hour class and we really have we go in depth, but I just wanted to give people the inspiration to get out and to try,
Right.
Of course, we got a seminar coming up in Atlantic City, which is a 2-day seminar where we actually put people in a bus and drive them around the property and let them walk through the property so they could actually touch and see it. And we're going to Houston and Atlanta, but I just want people to give them the inspiration to read a book on buying homes and selling homes, listen to podcasts, get into it, because it's that wealth that you can pick up. So if you lose your job, you're always good. The reason I did this, and I tell everybody, I was always scared that Charlamagne was going to say some foul-ish and get us kicked off the radio, or Angela Yee, who came from Sirius Radio, was going to curse and get us fired.
What about you? What you might do to get everybody fired?
I'm
He leaves
good.
that part out.
The one, and you know what's crazy? He says that the one person who almost made the show come to an end was him
Wow.
when we first started.
When I did what?
When you weren't coming to work, when you was stressed out, you
Damn.
was late, and you was thinking that you didn't even want to be here.
He never mentions that at the
was
seminar.
a
So
No,
that's-
I've never heard
So
that
it's
story.
interesting that we're the ones
How you wanna talk
that
about
might
the
have
past?
potentially caused the demise of the show when you were the one that actually.
Why you want to talk about the past? That was like 8 years ago.
So
Yee.
go ahead,
So
continue.
anyway, so the reason I wanted to do real estate is I wanted to bring in some extra money that no matter what happened in my life, no matter what I said or what I did, that income could come in and take care of my family. Or even if I die, that income will continue to come in and take care of my family, my kids, my grandkids, my grandkids, or whatever happens down the line. I wanted to make sure that was that. So that was the reason why I pushed people towards real estate.
And it's great grandkids.
Oh, well, you know what I meant. And, there's also a lot of seminars out there that are trash and that people are playing off your hope. So just do your homework. And like I said, anybody up here, no disrespect to anybody here, I tell you this all the time, I don't trust anybody. I don't even trust the people up here. So if you
Thank you.
calling somebody,
Appreciate you.
a financial guy,
Appreciate it.
an attorney, or a credit guy, call 3-4 people and make sure you really get the best numbers and the best thing. That's the same thing I do when I buy a car. I call 3-4 different dealerships. Even though Matt is a guy that I go to for loans or what I need, I still Call 3 people just in case. Same
You
thing
should have
with
did that
Sabine.
with that contractor in Detroit.
But that's what I learned from that. But I appreciate you guys for joining us. And
Thank you.
just give me your information so people can get in touch with you if they need
Ladies
to.
first.
Oh, Sabine Franco. You can find me on Instagram at Sabine SABINE _ the Purpose Lawyer.
Black attorney. Jose.
What's going on, guys? Jose Rodriguez. You can find me on Instagram at The Credit Dude.
Rodriguez, you know he's a Latino.
That's it.
You Spanish, you Puerto Rican, or Dominican?
Depends on who my dad is. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Puerto Rican.
That was a good one.
Puerto Rican.
Matt
Garland, MG the Mortgage Guy on Instagram and YouTube. Check
Black
in.
guy.
A black guy.
from Long Island.
Stop disrespecting me, son. I told you this shit last night, man. Stop disrespecting me.
He's from Queens, all right.
Yeah.
I'm from Queens.
Flippin_NJ on Instagram. Any questions? I'm here.
That's his name, Flippin' NJ.
Flippin' NJ.
Yeah, I forgot. Sometimes I forget my own name now.
My Dominican brother, Dominicano. All right, but I appreciate you guys joining us. If you want information on anything that we do, you could just hit us up. Click the link in our bio. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't answer a lot of questions. I ain't got time. Cesar answers a lot of questions. So
Right.
if you want to hit him
Got
up, he'll
time.
definitely answer your questions and he'll try to help you out as much as possible. And I want to see you at the seminars, man. Come learn some stuff. And thank you guys for coming through.
Thank you for having
Appreciate it.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate
All
it,
right.
guys.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.